loop. Now that I've finished off Season 1 of Red Hot Racing Circuit, I've got a bit of time to actually put into doing time loop again. Mind blank. Great start to the recording me. Yeah, of course, the other finicky thing, other than trying to record my own individual series on a different game, is, as I mentioned before, the thing about time loop is it requires me to drive cars that I don't use normally. Which is great until I go into a relatively important racing league event in an Acura and start driving the thing like it's a Mercedes. So I expect things that I'm not going to get. And I'm pointing out Mercedes because I am playing as RaceCam. There's literally no one else here. There's some interesting models up ahead. Wrong button. Clear. Not you. Thank you for that, Renault. Didn't really need a prostate exam, but thank you. Oh, that looks fun. How did that work as well as it did? Where are you braking? Not there, alright. RaceCam is just trying to get some footage of these unique vehicles. We're familiar with most of these cars. There's a modified Aston Martin up there. Bigger rear wing and such. Then there's this Corvette. Seen plenty of those in Universe Zero. We've never seen one in time loop. Also, oh my god. These guys are not going that fast at all. Not fast at all. Should RaceCam have just moved and tried to pass this Corvette by now? I don't know. But now suddenly we get to a high-speed turn and they're just out of it. Now suddenly RaceCam is at risk of losing track of these new coming vehicles. But I'm also at least getting away from my actual opponents. Oh yeah, they're heading out now. They turned it on for the second lap, and then they just have elected to leave. And so it shall have been done. Ooh, okay, me. We already had Danny with his fatal accident, like, not that long ago. We don't need another one. As I say this, and then proceed to nearly wreck again. These brakes are on fire. That would be why. Just about maintaining visual contact with this Corvette and the Aston Martin. Keywords, just about. Oh, the Mercedes does not turn like the Acura does. Ugh. I know what the problem is too. It's because this is technically just a qualifying setup. And so the brake ducts are way more open than they normally should be on a race car, and so therefore the brakes are getting set on fire. Speaking of more than they should be, that was not how you take that set of corners. And I think despite the best efforts of RaceCam here, he's not exactly the most adept racer. I think we've mostly lost any kind of contact with those newcomer GT vehicles. Whatever has been set up on those cars, it is something else. And the Corvette, which did do really well when Universe Zero was running GT cars for some time. 16 Angels, I think, did moderately well in that car. If not won, I'm not really sure anymore. It's been a long time since I did that series. If that thing is the back of this group, it's really hard to imagine what other kind of stuff has been done to the cars at the front of the pack. We have to bring one of our more expert drivers in for that mystery, because RaceCam is simply just not going to cut it. Although if there were any mid-tier drivers to ever see such a anomalistic group of vehicles, RaceCam with his built-in emblem cam, yeah, the Mercedes logo on the front of this car, that's a camera. The ingenious of our various engineering groups among Team Hot Wheels, specifically Neatery. Neatery, Rhinestorm, and on, well, kind of RaceCam was his idea, after learning that she can build just about anything mechanical, not just cars. Also, there was one GT3 at the back of the group that is just, like, gone. It is left behind from the other 8 in the class that are not me. And I'm reeling in the GTs again. I just does not like this second to last turn. Ah, curb hop. Yeah, get footage of these weird cars. Try to maybe demonstrate what they are to the drivers that can do something about them. Just hope that Carbon can't somehow gain access to them if he hasn't already. Who knows if maybe he and Paradox are the ones that did this to these cars, or maybe if they just exist. Who really knows? And obviously they just exist. We've seen Corvettes before. But if the Corvette is the weakest of the bunch, heaven only knows what we're doing with at the front of that pack. Oh, look at that turn. Another one. Oh, good turning, me. I had 2 really good corners in a row, and then I just, like, forgot to actually steer. Usually an important part of making a corner is actually turning the car, you know? Alright, hooking the curb has been helpful. I've actually made the turn that time. So it's been kind of heavily questioned within my own mind, and I've also asked around with some of the other guys, Keenan and Tyler specifically, about the use of the music from Red Hot, but in, like, time loop. And I think just what it comes down to is I will use music in this series, but only during, like, tense moments. Like if I'm fending off somebody or racing against opponents. You know, if I'm having to battle against another time loop character. Or if it's for the win, or, you know, just any major event. But right now I wouldn't use it because, A, I'm still talking. That would be another use if there's a long stretch of time where I just don't talk for one reason or another. Or, you know, also because, like, there's nothing interesting happening. I'm like 2 seconds off of that vet, and I'm like 4 seconds ahead of the next GT3 car, and so there's like literally nothing happening right now. Finally took that one right for the most part. And this lap will ring in a halfway mark. Something was literally slipping there. And I was lucky to not get damage from my stupidity for that. 88 penalty, as some would call it. I probably deserved to take damage from that, considering how, like, goofy that entire scenario was, but I didn't, so fine. I've been like so focused on like I had to scratch my eye, but I couldn't do that because I was taking corners. And the fact that I had to scratch it was like distracting me from actually talking. It was very awkward. Oh, I didn't want that shift. Okay, we're fine. I require steering. There we go. Now my head is itchy. Just a mess from the itching or scratchiness front. London's Glen is just one of those tracks that has so much flow to it. I could just drive this track forever. Each corner is like mostly the same, but different enough to feel like it's an engaging experience. And the track is relatively easy, so it's like just mindless driving. That's kind of why it's been one of the major playing grounds of Time Loop. Because if I know the track well enough, I can just drive and not have to worry about how much I'm talking and how much I'm focusing on the road, because the road is not a particularly difficult one. Oh, that was perfection. Now normally, sometimes, depending on who you ask, you are allowed to, by who you ask, I mean, are they a NASCAR fan or are they not? You can just pretty much like ignore track limits in that first corner, but this is not a NASCAR, last I checked. Mercedes doesn't make those, so... Oh, good apex. I just see the conga line of the other cars that I cannot catch. Try in third gear, it honestly doesn't feel any different, depending on, regardless of whichever gear I'm actually in. So this is a flying lap. Well, that was a sudden resurgence of pace. That's going to be in the 45s. Oh, yeah. We thought XT3 was the adaptive AI. RaceCam showing that himself here. Oh, I curbed him like that. The curves on this track just kind of tease you. They make you think you're about to spin out, and then you just usually don't. Like 8 times out of 10, the car will just act like, oh, I'm gonna spin, I'm gonna spin, what are you gonna do about it? Oh, I'm gonna spin, and then it just doesn't. Sometimes the way you hook these curbs actually might make you go faster around the turn. I deserve damage for that. I deserve damage for that, and I somehow still don't have any. The HUD things are green. That means I can take damage. It's not like I'm cheating here. I mean, RaceCam can fly above lava, so it would make sense that this car should be a bit durable. But not like this. I'm still mostly keeping pace with these other GTs, but yeah, we're gonna have to call in some bigger guns. I don't know if we turn to a faster driver like Alex or So Fast or Burn, or if we just turn to the advanced RS01 and have either any of the Toho characters or maybe Battle Rocket or 16 Angels or that. That's probably the best option, to have like 16 Angels and the better RS01 take them on. So we will be hitting 4 to go at the end of this lap. I think the leading car is going to hit the line before 5:15. Really, I think it would have to be more like 5:12 for them to not be able to complete 3 laps. Oh yeah, they're gonna get there. I'm gonna get there. I'm gonna get there like dead on like 5:16, which would still be 3 laps. Especially considering I would probably just let off the gas, but that's not going to be an option. That's the difference between 61 and 62 brake bias, believe it or not. If I had left that on 62, I wouldn't have like tail spun into that. A little I love NI and why. God, I cannot. I love NY sign on that like shed or whatever that is there. I can turn my lights off now, it's bright enough. "21 hours have passed in game, so that would make it 9. Yeah, it'd be like 9 o'clock in game right now. Because I started this at high noon. It's high noon. Draw. Oh, turning too early. We're fine. Give me another solid lap here. Oh, that's actually the fastest. It really didn't feel like it, but it was. I don't know what it did that was so special on that lap, but alrighty then. It should be 3 to go. Just about. Yeah, I think that's going to be the play that Team Hot Wheels here are going to employ. We're gonna send 16 Angels and that as they've been sticking together. They're in the same car. They both have access to the modified one that Nitari has made. And so they along with Battle Rocket and most of the Toho drivers have been kind of hanging out with each other. And so really, I think even if we just send 1, we're really sending like 5 at these guys. Is it overkill? I don't know. Do we care? I don't know. Excellent answers, but I don't think we do. If we can get a hold of these cars somehow. If they're so much faster as they seem. Then the advantage that would put us in over Carbon and Paradox would be, well, certainly noteworthy. There's another flying lap. This is faster yet. I don't know what I'm doing that's making these any faster. These feel like largely the same laps. 2 to go, we'll barely get in that 15th, we'll barely start that 15th lap. I did not need 5th gear for that game. Stupid hill makes the revs climb, and that makes the auto gear shift for me. Every time I get into this corner, I'm just paranoid I'm going to turn in like seconds too early and just smack into that inside wall. I don't know if I've done that yet in time loop or not. I don't think that I have. But I've certainly done it before on this game, and I think even in like practice or qualifying for a league race. It was funny. I actually forgot up until this point that I have a league race here. Next week, I think, or is it? No, it's 2 weeks from now. And that was not taken into consideration when choosing the track. But it is certainly convenient, and now I'm glad that I have done it. It kept the same 1.5 to 3 seconds, occasionally 4, between me and this Corvette. They're all slowing down. Maybe they're holding each other up, maybe RaceCam is just going that fast. Doubt it. Or maybe the vehicles are volatile, who knows. I mean, I am going quite fast. This is going to be another minute 45. Corvette is actually losing pace a bit to the rest of his group. This group is independent from Carbon and such, and they are quite the organized unit. They're just basically driving in a single file line. And as for the GT3 opponents, RaceCam has absolutely crushed them. I think it's safe to say this is some of his best driving. He's got to get that, footage of these cars. Oh, no, no longer single file. The green cars had enough. What's last second bragging rights, but he ain't gonna get him. By the end, RaceCam will be able to have claimed a bit more footage as we run another barely minute 45, so that was interesting. Oh, the cooldown lap, of course. If they even oblige to that, which it looks like they are. They're making some pretty fast cooldown laps. Seem to give me much space there. So we've identified a Corvette, modified BMW M6s, modified Aston Martins, and there's some bizarre black car, and also a green one that appears to be the same vehicle. Is this really all of the different vehicles available? And look at that. Was that one person clapping? Yeah, so that will be it for this part of Time Loop.